Hello, this is Mara Jane, and you're listening to The Unseen Perspective. Hello, and welcome back to The Unseen Perspective. My name is Mara Jane, and I'm your visually impaired host. And here today with me, I'm just going to get right into it. I have a very special guest. So I'm here at Wichita State University. I am doing the Envision Level Up conference this week. And this week we got the opportunity to hang out with somebody very special who I am now getting to have on my podcast. So can you introduce yourself and kind of describe what you do?
Yeah, Mara. My name's Joe Strechay. I'm a producer and consultant in television and film who's blind. I also do some other consulting out in the world, but I work on a number of projects helping to make sure blindness is portrayed, but are also done in the right way, whether it's from the scripts or the working with actors, whether it's casting, whether it's all the objects or how people do things, and making sure it's respectful. I'm committed to making sure blindness is shown in a positive manner.
Nice. How'd you get started with all that?
Yeah, great question, Mar. My undergraduate is around communications and media from East Carolina University, and my graduate work is all around from Florida State, or all around blindness, like teaching children who are blind or visually impaired orientation mobility, and a specialty and transition from school to work. And I kind of molded both of those together, and I started really looking at TV and film and how blindness was portrayed but shown and depicted, and the stories around it, and I started critiquing it. And then I helped on a show called Royal Pains for 3 episodes. The writer's room was introducing this character who's blind, and building my lingo and slang into the character and what she was doing and in her life in the situation. And then after that, and that was volunteer, another show came, Marvel's Daredevil was being developed for Netflix, and I started helping to recruit people for that job. And prior, people with sight were doing that job, telling people how a person who's blind might do something. And I was seems weird. And I'm a professional in the blindness world, but I'm also blind. My mom's blind. I grew up with a visual impairment and lost my vision over time. I was legally blind at 19. But getting that opportunity, they convinced me to interview, and they offered me the position on season 1, working with the lead actor who was not blind. And I trained him as I would train actual people who are blind or low vision, and what they do in the skills in their everyday life. But also the first conversation I figured out I wanted to have was that no matter what I teach any actor or this person, they will never know what it's like to be blind or low vision. They will never have that perspective. I can do hours and hours of training with them under sleep shade, and I say sleep shade, not blindfold, because really, you can't take off blindness. You can't put it on and take it off, and nor can an actor put on blindness and take it off. They don't know what it feels like to be us, and I want to stress that. And but I helped with props and set decoration. So all the set decoration is the stuff in the background that the actors are not handling typically. The props include their canes or whatever objects in Matt Murdock's apartment on that show. But I worked on the scripts as they were developing the scripts and the story around that, and then working on set with the actors, and whether it was the lead actor, the child version, or some other actors. And it was a learning experience, working on a big set with all kinds of different departments. So that was really what launched it. I had worked on some commercials and documentaries prior, but really that opportunity is what kind of helped me figure out what I was doing and how I was doing it.
So what is your eye condition?
Great question. My eye condition is retinitis pigmentosa, and a healthy dose of cataracts thrown in there for good measure.
Me too.
Oh, nice. See, you know, yeah, and as I said, my mom lost her vision later in life, so we found out at the same time. I was 11, she was like 42, and it just happened over time, but I lost my vision faster than my mom, yeah, and I wouldn't change a thing about my life, really. Like, Braille allows me to read signage and do all kinds of things, and I use it on my computer with refreshable Braille. And I also, I'm not the fastest Braille reader, and I'll tell everyone that in the world. I try my best.
It's okay, me neither.
Okay, that makes me feel better. But my cane, and I say white cane, but my cane is pink at the moment. I have a whole bunch of different colored canes, and my cane Slim helped really change my life too, like getting me to trust my senses and not worry about like what I could see at the time, and which was not dependable or consistent.
Yeah, and they didn't give you a cane for a while, did they? They
No.
didn't think it was the right fit or whatever?
Yeah, like I had a hard time getting services starting out and ran into a lot of obstacles, and they would not show up for lessons. This was in North Carolina originally, and then finally I got services in New Jersey, and then I learned. They taught me Braille, and also like technology and daily living skill stuff, and then but with the cane, they gave me the cane, and did one like lesson, and they said I was a natural and I was good to go. I was not good to go, but I learned a lot over time, and then also from other people who were blind, and then friends who were becoming professionals. So yeah.
I remember I used to really hate using my cane. Like when I was younger, I think looking different, I guess, really bothered me. So like using my cane or reading Braille or whatever, I just didn't want to do it. But now I appreciate it so much more.
Me too. And like the thing is, we were always focused, and I'll tell you, most people don't notice your cane. Like if you're moving like competently and efficiently with whether it's a guide dog or a cane, people don't notice it. They just notice someone confidently walking and moving, and it's kind of a beautiful thing. Like I love my cane, and I kind of feel naked without it, truthfully. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and people are like, oh, that person's blind, not, oh, that person's an idiot.
Yeah, and I went through that in college, like people thinking I was intoxicated when I wasn't, and because I couldn't look them in the eye, and my friends knew I was losing my vision. They knew that, but I wasn't telling everyone I ever met.
Right.
Like, and the cane that gives that identification. It helps people understand. Yeah.
I've recently come to appreciate that, but I really did not like to use it
I
when
get
was a
it.
kid.
Yeah.
Same with Braille, but now I can read in the dark, and I appreciate that.
I love that.
I mean, yeah, you know, when you're going to bed and
Yeah.
have the Braille book under the blanket.
Yeah, I save money on electricity because I haven't turned on the lights in my dorm room except for recording a video, and I had to think about it after the fact when I started. I'm like, oh, I gotta go check the lights. Break out Seeing AI and tell me if the lights are on.
Oh yeah, it does have that like light feature. Seeing AI is a very fun app.
Yeah.
I haven't used it in a long time, but I remember we used to use it a lot when we were like in middle school or like before that even.
Yeah.
And just like describe the facial describing feature, and it was always so inaccurate, but it was so fun.
I love the short text on it, and now it'll go up to like 60 feet away.
Oh, really?
So you can do signs, you can walk around and do businesses and stuff like out on the street, and friends who are using it in airports to read the signs. So I actually used it on the way flying here to read signs in the airport. And I hadn't done that before, and I was like, I've used it in vending machines back in the day, but now, like, thinking about the distance it will go, gave me another use for it. Yeah. And I use it for money identification.
I'm sure it works a lot better now. I mean,
Yeah.
I haven't used it in like 6 or 7 years. So.
Oh, yeah, it definitely does.
Yeah.
They've added features.
But I can see, like, where it would have developed into something really cool.
Oh, yeah.
I really I think that technology is cool, but I'm hesitant to use it for whatever reason. I use my phone as a magnifier a lot because
Yeah.
I have enough vision too, but it kind of
Using
wears
your
my
tools.
eyes out. Yeah.
Oh, and that I remember that. And like I can remember being low vision and losing vision and the headaches and like having to close one eye to use one eye to read because my fields didn't meet up, and the strain. It was tough. Yeah.
I mean, I can only see out of one eye, so I think it's like everything is just like filtered in into that one area, and I don't really have peripheral vision either, so it's just kind of that one area, and it gets painful really fast. And I think teachers don't understand that because they're like, oh, you're blind, so you need bigger print and Braille and whatever. But there's so many little things that people just don't think about.
I bet your eye is scanning a lot too, the one eye, and moving to kind of create a picture with your brain.
Yeah, and my center of vision is so weird that like that's why the cane is good, so people know that I'm blind and not just dumb.
and you can still use that vision with the cane, like you can use it and you just don't have to look down. And I remember like before I was using my cane all the time, like having to make sure I wasn't tripping over something.
Oh yeah, going downstairs is so bad because I'll still like look like straight down, so I don't trip and fall. But yeah, I actually forgot my cane. I forgot to bring it here.
Oh, it happens.
Yeah, it's okay. I brought it to the Kansas State School for the Blind when I worked, so that's something. That's an improvement.
That is good.
But I mean, like we were saying, it's important for the blind community to be properly represented so that people kind of know. Obviously, they're not going to fully understand what we're going through, but just knowing about little things like that can improve everyone's lives greatly.
Yeah, we want to be represented well, and I've talked to a lot of leaders in the blindness world and community about this. I feel responsibility that I want to make sure the productions I work on respect blindness and disability, and also as we work to bring in actors who are blind or low vision to portray those roles as it should be. And it's not all the time, and I don't think it's going to happen overnight. We're getting more and more, which is awesome. I've helped cast for like Amazon and Paramount and Netflix and Apple TV Plus, and helping to bring in actors who are blind or low vision, and including on Netflix's All the Light We Cannot See with the lead actor Ariamia Liberti, who's legally blind, very low vision, guide dog user, and then Nell Sutton, the child version of the Marie Lore, who was 7 years old and the cutest little girl who was legally blind and now I'm totally blind, who really bring those parts alive and getting to help create accessibility for them and make sure that what we're doing is consistent and makes sense. It's kind of fun and exciting to get to make those decisions, but it's a responsibility. So I feel pressure to make sure I'm doing my best, but also when we bring in actors who are blind or low vision, that they bring their own perspective and their personal experience. I try to marry the research side of my graduate work and my working with people who are blind or low vision for the last 20 years, and mix it all together and try to create something that will be as authentic as possible.
And because everyone who has a visual impairment has like a different experience, we do share some of the same like experiences, but we're all different people. We're all like snowflakes. None of us are
if you met
the same.
One person who's blind, you met one person who's blind.
Yeah, exactly. But you have worked with actors who are sighted, who are portraying like blind and visually impaired characters. So what's that like? Yeah,
it's that's how I started out, really. Like first it was like giving input on like scripts and projects and recruiting people who are blind or low vision for some commercials. And then on Marvel's Daredevil, training the actor as Charlie Cox, who's the nicest person I probably have ever worked with, one of them for sure at that time. And he just was really kind. And I talked to them about their responsibility because we're a minority population, a small population. We're not shown often, and we've most often been shown in like hospital beds or needing assistance or begging for money, or even just walking by. So when there are roles about us, it's important. We want to be represented. Persons with disabilities make up like 25 to 27% of the population, yet we only see about, I think it's like 5% of roles or characters involve disability. I think at one point it was up to 12%. It ranges at times, but it goes back and forth. And then of those percentage, how many are filled by actual actors with disabilities is tiny. And it's getting bigger now, and I've seen the emphasis from Hollywood and the studios, and we did that with All the Light We Cannot See, and we've done it with C, the show C, where I was working with sighted actors, but I was also working with actors who were blind or low vision. And over 3 seasons, we brought on like 35 actors who were blind or low vision. Over like 20 of them were in recurring roles, so multiple episodes. Couple hundred background performers who were blind or low vision, and that was difficult because we were filming in Canada almost year round outside. So in the winters of Ontario or Vancouver, British Columbia, out in snowstorms. I think the coldest day we filmed in was negative 41 degrees, and we found the blind hockey players were okay with being outside in the cold. They were some of our best background performers.
That's fun.
Yeah, but it's different. So no matter what I teach them, it's not going to be authentic. I can do my best to work with them and make sure we're portraying it in a way, and then talking to my friends who are blind or low vision. So when like Jason Momoa is climbing a cliff, Jason Momoa is not blind or low vision. He's not blind. And reaching out to people like Eric Weinmeier to ask him advice, and he'd send me videos, but also all the things we did, like bouldering or going across like frozen, like icy lakes. I did too, so to demonstrate how it could be done and how we might do it. But I reaching out to others for videos or advice, and I would poll people about certain things that were covered under non-disclosure agreements to make sure that it's not just always my opinion.
Mm-hmm. I think that's really smart to do that, and also to include the blind and visually impaired people, because again, it's important for us to be represented. But I mean, some people just don't know. They're just ignorant, and it's not really their fault. But we're trying to change that, one show at a time. And but I mean, yeah. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, and there are people who are blind that work in the television film world who don't care what the community thinks. They just care that their opinion on what it should be or could be or might be. They don't care how it's representing our community, which scares me and worries me.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be open-minded.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you have plenty of stories of like people just not getting it.
Yes. Oh, definitely. People that they doubt what we can do or can't do, and I know every person who's blind or low vision or with other disabilities have people that have low expectations for you, and part of what I want to make sure we are showing those high expectations, what is possible, and also making mistakes is beautiful. Everyone makes mistakes, whether you have a disability or not. So
yeah, I mean, I know people probably have low expectations of me as a visually impaired person, especially like relating to camera related stuff and videography, because that's generally thought of as a very visual field. And so I actually, I've always been creating video content for as long as I can remember. I've loved to take videos and edit videos. And I actually, last year, I got the opportunity to direct, write the script for, edit, and film this music video for our school, because we had a competition, and it was like 40 different groups of people at the school all making their own music videos, and we won.
Love that. And I just want to say, you should be continue doing that and continue to push. There's also something called the Easter Seals Disability Film Challenge that involves making a short or a film during a specific period. It has to be created with a group. At least one person with a disability has to be within it. The group, and you have a team, and you choose your team, and you submit, and they have hundreds of submissions, including like some prominent, famous people, and some people end up getting big contracts. Like one of the directors ended up booking a deal with Disney to direct for Disney. You never know what opportunities are out there, and there are more and more programs that encourage people just like you. And I know you're going to make it. You're going to make things happen. I've met you now multiple times, and I believe this is what you're meant to do, and you should continue to push through. And anyone out there who wants to make projects, make film, find a community, build your community of people who want to make projects, whether they have disabilities or not. But find people that have skills that you can utilize, and they can utilize your skills and learn from each other and work. We learn from making mistakes and failures, and we work forward to build those successes. And that's how all filmmakers and people learn. So you just get out there and make things happen, just like you did. You won that contest. That's awesome.
It was great. I told a couple of my really good friends, I was like, if we win this, I'm going to become a director. So I guess now I have to. I
think it's your responsibility to become a director. Mm-hmm. And there are directors who are blind or low vision, mostly on the low vision side, but one of them, he's losing his vision, and I know I can direct. I help block scenes, and I'm going to have that opportunity to direct, whether it's my own projects or other projects down the line. And we need more storytellers who are blind or low vision. So sharing our stories. It's great that there are stories about blindness and low vision, but we want to have the stories actually written by people mm-hmm. from our community. So sharing our true perspective.
I love sharing stories and writing stories. And I think it's really valuable from our perspective as blind and visually impaired people. That's what this podcast is for. But speaking of stories, do you have any fun stories from the film industry or just from the visually impaired world in general?
Oh, I have lots of fun stories. Like, some weird and funny ones, like working on C. By the third season, I was co-executive producer, I was proposing to be co-executive producer. I was negotiating for season 3, and you hear about these riders that people build into their contracts, like specific things. Like, in music world, you might hear that in their venue, in their dressing room, they have to have M&Ms, all green M&Ms. Besides having a trailer and stuff to, go and use for meetings and change and put my stuff in and use as an office around set, I negotiated that I got to pet every animal on set and my wife was a little mad at me. It was like, that they were going to laugh at you. And I'm like, no, they were fine with it. And it worked out. I was shocked. But I got to pet all the animals.
Do what you gotta do.
Yeah. I've been on set with people, and I've made mistakes too. Times where I thought something was the case and I misunderstood, but most often I understand what's going on. To do my job, I have someone with sight who describes every take on set. They're a choreographer that I train what I want to know and what I don't, and then I adjust as we're going, and we define beforehand like all the little things that I'm looking for in each scene, and then we figure out from the blocking, as we're doing the blocking, figure out the first mark, last mark, what are those things, and I at that time I get an idea of things that I'm going to be looking for, and then they're describing them, and then I might be, as I'm listening through the headset of listening to the sound besides what she's describing or he's describing, I'm like, I start to, I hear something or I think of something. I'm like, what does their footwork look like? When we were doing All the Light We Cannot See, and the opening scene, the first time I worked with Sean on set, I've been on set a number of times, but the first time Aria Mia Liberti was working, we're filming the opening scene of the limited series for Netflix, and we're doing it, and I'm like, I go to my assistant Kara Lee Herlichka, I go, how are her feet moving? Like, she's supposed to be walking, like, there's supposed to be broken glass as she's walking to this window. Does it look like she's stepping on broken glass? And she's like, no, it kind of looks like she's just walking over to the window. And I'm like, the window's broken. There's glass on the ground, supposedly. And I'm like, bombs are going off, shaking. And I'm like, huh. And we watch again, and still the same. And I tell one of the executive producers, and he's like, go tell Sean Levy, who's the executive producer and director. And I go up there, and I'm like, Sean, it's not really a blindness thing. This is more just like, I don't know, a note. He's like, what is it? And I'm like, well, she's walking to the window, and there's supposed to be broken glass, and it doesn't seem like she's walking, like she's stepping on glass. And he goes, what do you want it to look like? I'm like she's stepping on glass. I'm like, I'm not an expert on glass, but you should be like shuffling or stepping and crunching. And he's like, okay, let us think. And the first AD's there, Josh, who's worked with Tom Hanks on all kinds of films, including Castaway and so many others. And he was the executive producer, or he was an executive producer on Fableman. He's the first AD, and this amazing first AD. Him and Sean are like, okay. And I walk away, and I go down and to where our village is, and we're watching. And Sean Levy comes to the edge of set of this house that we built, and he comes and goes, Joe, great note, I got it. And they took fake glass and like stuff that you could step on and put it on the ground. And we learned Aria needs some, like, she wants to experience things, and she loved it and liked the idea that she could feel the glass under her feet. It gave her something to launch off of and to help her with her performance. And but it also like helped build the relationship with the director, myself, and the crew. That I'm not just there for just the blindness stuff. I spend a lot of time on sets and look at the little details and want to make sure that our project and our production is the best one it could be.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing too, is with the film industry, specifically for us, yes, it's important to focus on blindness and how it's represented, but there's also just tons of other stuff, because we're not just blind people, we're people, and we have other thoughts that aren't relating to our blindness necessarily. So I think that's a really good thing to bring up.
Yeah, and I want to have my own shows down the line. I want to have shows, and I want to be able to cast all kinds of different people, and people not defined by their role. Like, my mentors, Dan Schatz and John Steinberg, and I have a bunch of mentors in the television and film world, like Jonathan Tropper, but Dan Schatz and John Steinberg are like family members. They helped. They were the showrunners on season 1 of C, and they created these shows called. One is called The Old Man, and there's this small little show called Percy Jackson. The first season came out in December, and they were created a show years ago called Jericho, and they were auditioning women for this role, and this woman came in who was deaf, and actually I got to meet her recently virtually for a different project, and they auditioned her, and the part wasn't a person who's deaf, and they were like, is the character's not deaf, but she's great, and it brings they customized the role to fit her, and she was that role, and it was meant to be, and I love it. And this was a while back, and I think people like that, they've cast a number of our friend he passed recently a few months ago. He had ALS, and Ken Mitchell, he's been in a ton of I think he spoke the most Klingon in all of Star Trek television, and he passed away. But he was on the Nancy Drew show. He was a bad guy in that, I think season 2 or something. But they customized a role for him, The Old Man, where he was a detective, and he was a guy with ALS using a power wheelchair.
Oh, wow.
And they named his part Joe because of me. He was named after me, and Ken reached out to me and such when he was when they decided it. And but I think things are happening, and as long as we have people who see what is possible and what it should be, and believe in it and do it, I think anything's possible. And I think Sean Levy showed that with All the Light We Cannot See, casting Nell Sutton, the 7-year-old, originally for the young Marie Lore on All the Light We Cannot See, and then realizing, let's see what we can do with the older version. And we did, and we found the right person in Aria Liberti.
Yeah, I still need to watch that show. My mom really wants to watch it.
Oh, you should. It's a World War II historical fiction piece. 4 episodes, easy to watch. Mark Ruffalo is in it. He's you might know him as the Hulk and many other parts, but Mark was great. He plays her father, and then Hugh Laurie, who you might not know.
I do. House.
House, yeah. Hugh was Etienne in it, the uncle, and just fantastic cast and people. Miriam Bailey, who's in The Crown. She's the Queen Mother, and lots of great people and just a great experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we watched the trailer a couple times, and one of the things we noticed is that at the end there's like Braille, and the title is Braille, and then it fades into print, and so we paused it and we were like,
no capital signs.
Is the Braille correct?
No capital signs.
Yeah, but
we chose it didn't fit. Mm-hmm. I wanted capital signs originally, but they didn't fit.
It was correct though. So
yeah, it is correct.
And we were like, oh my gosh, they have the cannot contraction.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yes, 100%, and it was a great pleasure to work on that. And I worked with, because I can feel Braille, so I worked with some teachers of the visually impaired to. I'm like, can you put this in use a Perky Duck or some other where you can make it visual so that they could model it, and that's how we did the credits, and the different parts were actually done by teachers of the visually impaired.
Yeah, visual Braille is such a weird
concept. It really is.
At KSSB, I worked in the makerspace this summer, and I've been in there a lot since it became a thing a few years ago. But they have a laser engraver that they like to print Braille on, and so Lydia Moreno, who is the makerspace coordinator, will be making this stuff, and she'll be like, "Can you check this Braille for me?" Like, sure. It's really cool though, because when it's done, it's Braille, but it's wooden.
Oh wow!
So they basically engrave everything except the Braille dots, so that they're raised.
Oh wow, that's cool. I've seen it with 3D printing, but that's really cool.
Yeah, we have a lot of cool machines in there.
I'm not surprised.
We have a few 3D printers, a few laser engravers.
I love 3D printers.
Yeah. They're so fun. I gotta play with them at or help students use them.
Yes. Seriously, because they are serious tools.
Yes, very serious.
Yes.
But it was so fun. Yeah, we have a sewing machine, embroidery machine.
Nice.
All kinds of stuff.
I've tried sewing. I was never very good, and I as best as I could, I made finger puppets. That's what I made.
I made a pillow one time. That wasn't terrible, but
I made a pillow, but it was not good.
I think they were gonna make pillows with the kindergartners, but during this week. But I'm here, so I won't be there for that.
Yeah, my pillow. Those kindergartners probably made a better pillow than I did.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know how much help I would be, but it's a cool idea.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm sure Lydia has it handled. She's awesome. I love her.
Good people.
But yeah, is there anything else you want to say?
Yeah, I think it's an exciting time. There are a lot of initiatives out there. Sony has an initiative. Besides the accessibility they've built into the G7 camera, they're looking at bringing in persons with disabilities. NBC Universal just did a project with a program called Making Space by my friend Keely Catwells. She helped create that. It's a partnership with one of her colleagues and Reese Witherspoon, but they worked with the NBC Universal for casting in front of camera talent and behind but for sportscasters for like the Paralympics and Olympics, persons with disabilities, and there's more and more programs and projects happening like that out there in the world, and I think it's pretty exciting time. People like Sheridan O'Donnell, who's a guy who's legally blind, low vision, losing his sight, who's a director. He created a film called, he wrote it and directed it called Little Brother, and it won the Atlanta Film Festival's People's Choice Award. And also there are people like James Rath, who's out there. He has a docuseries on about travel on Curiosity, which I think is a spinoff of Nat Geo or something like that, or Discovery. I don't know, something like that. But it's about him, and he's legally blind, low vision, traveling around the world, and how travel, but also about disability and how people do things. There are a lot of cool things happening out there in the world. And as I mentioned, the Easter Seals Disability Film Challenge, who was created by a great guy, and just he's an actor who's defines himself as a little person, and he's been in a lot of probably shows you guys have all seen out there in the world, and but wanted to see more and help launch people, and not just, he wanted to have a lasting impact on getting people opportunities out there in the world.
That's really cool. But I think that's all we have for you today. It's getting late, so if you want to ask me any questions, or if you have any episode ideas, please email me at theunseenperspective2024@gmail.com. And you can also DM me on Instagram at theunseenperspective2024. You can find us on Spotify and YouTube. And if you made it through this episode, thank you for listening. I hope you tune in next time. If you're looking for another podcast that is also about the visually impaired life and experiences, I would highly recommend Discover Podcasting at KSSB. That's the podcast that they have over at the Kansas State School for the Blind. I used to be in it, but I'm not anymore. I still run the Instagram page for it, though. And yeah, that's all we have. So I hope you all have a great day, a great night, whenever you're listening to this. And bye.